Hello everybody out there in YouTube land. Welcome to another installment of In the Trenches. Today we have the one, the only Charlotte from New Zealand, from Sugarworks, from the Sugarworks Postproduction. And we're going to be talking with her today in just 1 second. I am super excited because we are finally going to get to the bottom of the story of whether in the Southern Hemisphere, if the timelines move clockwise or counterclockwise. So finally getting to the bottom of that. But first, really quickly, a little bit of business. Look, if you're watching right now, do me a solid, give me a thumbs up, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and we're live. Please ask any questions you want, throw them in the chat. Post a comment and we will answer them live for you. And of course, smash that subscribe button, as all the kids like to say. Do all that stuff that the algo likes. Really helps us out. Takes you 1 second. If you sprain a finger doing it, send me that medical bill and I will put that right in the trash bin. So really quickly, a couple of things for NLE Academy before we get started is, boom, we're going to be talking to Charlotte. She is all on Avid. She's editing on Avid. She does use other platforms on occasion, but predominantly she is Avid-based, as is Sugarworks. And so it makes sense for me to let you guys know that we are going to hold our famous 2-day virtual boot camp over Zoom. If you haven't come on to Avid yet and you want to know the basics of Avid, I'm going to give you everything you need to know to get started on Avid in 2 days. Gonna be amazing. March 1st, March 2nd. Right up there is a QR code. You can scan that QR code or boom, March 2025 BC.eventbrite.com. MAR 2025. I could have made that easier for everybody and didn't. That's on me. On Eventbrite, if you use the coupon code YTBC25 at checkout, that brings the cost of 2 days down to $50. That's it. $50. That's $25 a day. That's it. That's all it takes. And you'll be started on Avid. 5 hours each day. It's going to be jam-packed full of information, but you're going to walk away understanding the basics of the platform. So hit that up, join us, hit that Eventbrite up, put in that YouTube code, that coupon code YTBC25. I will guarantee I will repeat this information for you at the end of the broadcast. But for right now, there you go. Hit that up. And look, if you already know Avid and you're just looking for a little bit of extra help, hit this up, nleacademy.com/Avid guide will give you all the settings you need to get started. Really good settings, some settings that people don't even think about, and I've never seen them taught anywhere. People don't generally go over the settings, and they're hella important, and there's like a zillion of them. So hit up that Avid guide. That is free from me to you because I care. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to send me a little, hey, I got a question for you at info@nleacademy.com. Hit me up. I will answer all your questions. But now is the time. We're going to get right down to it, and we're going to bring up the one and the only Charlotte from New Zealand. Charlotte from the Sugarworks Postproduction. Come on in.
Hello.
How you doing? How you feeling tonight?
Oh, it's all good. Well, it's afternoon here.
Oh, that's
Sunday
right.
Afternoon. So, yep.
Yes, because Charlotte lives in the future. And let me tell you, the mental things that my brain had to go through just to understand the time difference. I was told there'd be no math, and yet here we go. On the other side of the international date line, you will find New Zealand. And Charlotte, well, where are you on this map of New Zealand? Right here.
So on your bottom right, you see at the top of New Zealand, you see a place called Auckland. That's where we are.
Okay, great. Great. We are in Auckland. That's good. I'm putting my cursor around it as if that can be seen, and I don't think it can. But so here we go. Oceania, right there. That's where we're talking to tonight, folks, just to give you a little bit of perspective. And so Charlotte, I was gonna play one of your trailers before bringing you up, and I didn't because I didn't click it. But we can watch one of them now if you'd like. But first, let's talk a little bit about you and about Sugarworks. Give us a little bit of background. Give the people at home in the television viewing audience, the YouTube viewing audience, if you will, and I think you might, a little bit of backstory about yourself.
Oof. Where do you want me to start? Because it's a very long running career.
It is true. Well, give us walk through it, because I know this that Charlotte's had a very international career. So why don't you take us through it? How'd you get interested? Where was your first gig? And then how'd you land in New Zealand? Okay. Don't skip Portugal.
I'll keep it very short. I was very lucky and privileged to be an exchange student when I was 16. And I chose to go to America, and I chose to go to Minnesota because I was a massive Prince fan. And so I could have gone anywhere else, but I wanted to be close to Prince. I did end up going to Paisley Park studio. I went to his house, stood outside the house, but I managed to get into Paisley Park studio, which was very awesome. It was amazing. And I went to First Avenue. See, this has nothing to do with my TV career, but it does. Went to First Avenue where Purple Rain was shot. Wow. It was just really amazing. Anyway, so in high school, I did my senior year of high school in America. And because my main schooling before that had been in the Netherlands, you have to have 4 languages. That's standard. So English, Dutch, French, German, right? So by that time, I'd already had 4 years of German, and I had chosen German in high school in America because easy, don't have to do anything because I've already had it for 4 years because I was lazy. And the teacher didn't like it after a few months, and so she booted me out and she said, just do something else till the end of the term. So I had to go to advanced biology, which I hated. But in their first 6 months, there was an art teacher who was walking around, and he was very cool. And he always let me, with my hall pass, instead of going to the library, I could go to the art room. And I used to go to the art room and have big, long philosophical conversations with this guy, the teacher, Jim. I'm still in contact with him to this day. And he said, well, you can join an art class. I said, I don't know how to paint. I don't know how to draw. What have you got? He said, well, I've got art video. I was like, oh, what's art video? And so he told me a little bit about what art video was. So the next semester I started art video and got really interested. So we watched like quite experimental stuff like Un Chien Andalou by Dali and Buñuel, classic. And so I picked up a camera and went, I thought I would be a cam op. I really enjoyed cinematography, loved animation. So I did a lot of animation. So when I got back, I had to finish my high school in the Netherlands, tried to get into film school, but because I had nothing, because we didn't even have a VCR at home, I had no equipment, no nothing. So I borrowed a VCR, like a little VHS, those mini VHS cameras.
Right, like VHS-C, right? VHS-C.
They were really tiny, and you had to slot them into the big VHS tapes. So one of my friends was lucky enough to have a camera like that, and I made this really shit film based on what's it called? It's Frank Zappa's Joe's Garage.
Oh, Joe's Garage.
Joe's Garage. So I made a little film around that with that theme, and didn't get in anywhere. So I had a bit of a gap year. Then managed to get into a course which was brand new called Image and Sound at the Royal Conservatory in The Hague. And alongside that course, which was all about editing, but it was image and sound in its widest combination. By that time, I was already doing some filming anyway, but I worked as a volunteer at the hospital in the city close to it, for the children's department. They had a TV set, a TV studio, and every week we made a live show for the children.
Oh, wow.
And every day certain groups would make little items to be shown on that TV show, and with the help of the kids, and they could also operate the cameras in the studio and everything else. So for the first 2 years, I did all the animations, and I learned how to edit, stop motion edit on tape to tape. I was very quick on little beta tapes. And I did a little bit of studio camera, but didn't enjoy it, but I enjoyed the studio directing.
Wow.
So from my whole thing of wanting to be camera op, I actually really enjoyed directing way more. Then I went on to Sheffield Hallam University in the UK and did a master's in film directing and sound design.
Oh, wow.
And I only chose sound design because they would give you a bursary as a female in tech. And so I did that. But then I noticed when I was doing my films, the editors were very, very lazy, and they would piss off on holiday. And, and I was there every day, 9 o'clock, doing my work. And I had a friend who was in the hall opposite, and she was using this machine, Avid. And I heard about Avid before. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I said, can you just show me how Avid works? And so she showed me how Avid works, and I finished my own films myself. And I was the only one in my year to finish the master's degree on time. So I thought, okay, that's pretty cool. And then it was time to get a job, and I didn't want to move to London. As much as I love Britain, which is my home country, I didn't want to live in London. So there was, and my mum being Dutch, I went to the Netherlands and went to apply for jobs there. And then I got a job as a remote camera operator for reality stuff. So your Big Brothers and what became The Biggest Loser, Blind Faith, Star Academy, what became Idol, stuff like that. So
these all started in the Netherlands, like The Biggest Loser was, what was it called?
The Big Diet. It was called The Big Diet in the Netherlands.
But it started there. That's how we got it.
Yeah. So it's all Endemol stuff.
Right.
But so we traveled around Europe, wherever there was a location where they were doing that. And initially they didn't want to give me the job because I was overqualified, because, you've got a master's degree. What do you want to, you're going to get bored. But, I had 2 joysticks, and I had to do all the shading of the 3 cameras. And I had like a director sitting next to you in the control room, and essentially you're the director, and they're just vision switches. Because you've got all the cameras. You've got 36 cameras in 2 joysticks, and 3 handheld cameras that are roving around the house on the outside, and you have to make sure that all the colors are balanced, and you set your scenes with all your cameras and everything else. So it was an amazing job, amazing first job.
What a crazy job. I mean, that's a crazy job for a seasoned vet, even. That many cameras, and color balancing them, and ISO cameras that are roaming around.
Yep. But, I happen to like computer games. So for me, it was just like a big Nintendo, essentially. So it was awesome. But I was looking at what the editors were doing, and I was quite interested in that whole concept of, telling the story. But I'm not sure how it is in the US, but it's the same here, like drama editing and drama editors, they feel that they're slightly higher, like how you've got jazz music and you got pop music, and jazz people always feel like they're slightly better.
Right.
And sometimes I get the same feeling with drama editors. Like when you're a lowly TV editor, you're not in the same class. Whereas I feel as a TV editor, you can actually do way more, because you have to do drama, you have to do non-scripted, right. Anyway, so but I liked what they were doing. And then a job opening came up in the national news for studio operator, with the chance of becoming an editor 3 months into your studio operator career. And I did that, and I've been editing ever since.
Right on. Wow. That's crazy. And wait, where did Portugal fall in on that?
So that was the remote camera operator.
That's the remote camera operator. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. So that was a horrible program, and I don't know. I can't remember.
Do you speak Portuguese?
No, I can just say obrigado, and that's about it.
Yeah. Now you've run out my vocabulary in Portuguese as well.
Yeah. So that was good fun. You live in Portugal. I think we lived there for about maybe 3 months. I don't even remember.
That was a while. It was a while back.
Yeah, that's about 24 years ago. So yeah.
And so like me, you learned on a very, very early version of Avid as well. Like I remember the version of Avid that I first cut television on was the Avid 400. Media Composer didn't exist.
Yeah.
It gave you 2 keyframes for your effects. So if you wanted another keyframe, you had to actually literally add edit and then it gave you 2 new keyframes. That's all you got. 2. You couldn't add any other keyframes. So I
Yeah.
was add edits all over the place trying to get stuff to, you know, crazy. It
But it
was
was still better than tape to tape, you
Oh,
know.
hell yeah. I mean, so much like orders of magnitude. In the middle of learning Avid from I'm gonna do a call out to Lori Schmidt right now. Then she'll be obligated to watch this later. Who was my first Avid teacher. In the middle of the first day of the class, I stopped the whole class down and I went, and I had seen nothing like it. I'd been only editing tape to tape. And I stopped the whole class and I said, I'm sorry. I just want to say, this is really awesome. Okay, go. And then like back down. I knew immediately, like, got to do this. This is a viable thing for, not that tape to tape wasn't, but holy crap, was that
The
cumbersome.
funny thing was, like when I was doing my first degree, they were doing an Avid demo at some company. And so me with some of the people at the hospital as volunteers, we went to go and see this Avid demo. And it was amazing. And I told my mentor and tutor at my uni, said, you need to get Avid. It is incredible. And he bought Speed Razor. And that died after 6 months. No one can use it.
Right.
So there goes the nonlinear editing. So I had like my degree film was a 20-minute animation, and I rebuilt the studio because it had been taken apart for a theater performance. Rebuilt the studio and hooked up the Amiga 4000 with that I had been using, PAR, personal animation recorder.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I used that, and the GPI triggers weren't working, so I had to manually start that to edit that onto tape. It was insane.
I love it. I love it. These kids today, you don't understand what we had to go through. I remember the first I got a gig early on where they said, "Oh, you know how to use Avid? We've got a nonlinear editor here. You'll be able to just hop on and use this." And they hired me for a gig. And I don't know why I just assumed it was also Avid because they had mentioned Avid while they were hiring me. And then I got there, it was a Media 100. And which it was, just the same kind of, and it died like 5 years. I think Media 100 was gone completely, but that was friends don't let friends edit on that platform.
Yeah, I had to, when I moved to New Zealand in 2003, I had to get myself up to speed with Quantel Edit Seat. No, it wasn't Edit Seat. It was, you had the rat and the pen. There was no keyboard.
Right.
And to put a shot in, you had to pick it up with the pen, swipe it to the right, and then put it in there and then click with your rat or something like that. It was just really almost like a conductor at a symphony. It was incredible. And I had to do the news on that. And there was no undo.
No, there was no undo.
It was just, swipe, and then hope for the best.
It's sort of like a Minority Report, Tom Cruise in Minority Report, where he's got that big and he's moving his hands around, except for I bet he had an undo. I'm going to go ahead and guess.
Probably on his, on his glasses or something. Yeah.
So yeah, right. Yeah. Or pull his left earlobe and it that's what's going to happen in the future. We'll be just blinking, pulling, it'll work just by moving around. So what was the gig that brought you to New Zealand? Was there a gig that brought you to New Zealand?
No. So as I was editing in the Netherlands, we discovered we had some distant relatives here, and my middle sister lives in Melbourne. So we did a little trip, And so I went with my parents to see my sister, and then I went to New Zealand for about 3 weeks just to meet people, but just to have a look around. And I really like the vibe. It's quite, they call it laid back here, just relaxed. And by that time, I'd been applying for my dream job as a TV director, because that's what I really wanted to do. And I wasn't getting anywhere. And so I was in New Zealand, and I thought, well, if I don't get my dream job within a month of me returning, I'm going to go and get a working holiday visa and see if I can just travel around New Zealand.
Oh.
And so I didn't hear any calls back when I got back. And so I had my visa and everything sorted, working holiday visa sorted. And then I got the job from 2 companies saying, oh, yeah, we've got a TV show for you to direct. And I said, well, you had a fair amount of time. I'm leaving next week. I may be back in 3 weeks. I may be back in 3 months. I may not be back. I don't know. But if I am back soon, I will let you know. And I've been here since.
And the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah. I mean, I was here on the working holiday visa, so you can't work too much, right? Because that's you breach the rules of your visa. But I worked in a mail processing center for off and on. It was casual work. And then on the weekends, in my spare time, I went to the main broadcaster, which is TVNZ, and that's where I learned to use Quantel. And initially, it was at my own cost to do that. And once I was up to speed, they would get me in on the weekends to do their news and sports. So yeah, it was a strange time. And then just before my working holiday visa ran out, I managed to get another job interview with another broadcaster here, TV3 back in the day, offering me a work visa because they were just switching over to Avid, and they had they had linear suites, and because I knew both, they hired me so that I could help them with the switch over to Avid.
Oh, fantastic.
And that way I also could get my residency after a while. So yeah, it was very hairy and stressful at times, but I'm still here. And now I've got the Sugarworks. So, you know.
I mean, amazing. And I want to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
About starting your own post house. Because that's fantastic. I mean, huge props for that. Let's before we get into that though, I want to show some people some of your work. So let's show the trailer, and hopefully we won't get booted off of YouTube. Sometimes they flag stuff. It's usually for music. They'll flag stuff and they'll shut the live stream down if they think you're live streaming something.
No, that's all composed by local composers, so there shouldn't be any copyright.
Excellent. So let's look at, we've got a couple of short trailers for some stuff you did. The first one we're going to look at, let's look at Misconceptions first. And then do you want to set this up a little bit?
Misconceptions, First Trimester Miscarriages is a documentary web series aiming to open up the conversation around miscarriage. Around 1 in 4 pregnancies end in miscarriage. And so it's a hidden loss that people don't talk about. And having suffered 2 myself, I got really annoyed with people saying, oh, you shouldn't say that you're pregnant, the first 3 months because, something can go wrong. And I pushed back and I said, yeah, there's a high chance that something will go wrong. And if you don't talk about it, you're not going to get support, and you're having to deal with all this grief by yourself, because obviously the what's growing in you is not viable yet, right? You can't live outside your body just yet, but you've got all these hopes and dreams, and your whole life you're looking, you've got all these ideas of what your life's going to be with this child, and then it's gone, and you're supposed to not say anything. So I got quite angry because there's a lot of people that came to me when I said, because I was quite open about mine, and there's a lot of colleagues coming to me go, oh, I've had one, I've never spoken about it. And I was just so sad for them and angry at the same time. And so I managed to get funding here. So here you can get funding from a government agency called New Zealand On Air, as you can see on the little logo. and it went into onto a digital platform. So the NZ Herald is one of the main newspapers here, and they also sometimes host video content made by others. So I was very grateful to them, and we made this documentary web series to open up the conversation, but also dispel some of the myths. Oh, you shouldn't be carrying this. Oh, you shouldn't be doing that. And it's always the onus on the woman.
Right.
And it's like there's nothing unless you're like shooting heroin or whatever and just being really, really unhealthy. There's nothing that you did that makes it your fault.
Right.
But also it was about showing the fathers, because they lost that child. They lost their hopes and dreams.
Right.
So we've put a whole segment in for the fathers, and we deliberately shot couples so that you get the male perspective, because every single guy in that series said, oh, I felt like I had to support her and I didn't get any support, because they always tell you the man has to be strong. And I'm like, but strong is not showing emotions.
Right.
You know, you need support, and you are allowed to show emotions. In fact, I think you're stronger when you do. Agreed. Anyway, so that's kind of the background for this.
Okay, well, let's super quickly, let's take a look at the trailer for this.
Okay.
The second you discover you're pregnant, the moment you see that positive sign, you change your world to accommodate that baby.
We don't actually entirely know how common miscarriages are, but the ones we do know about make up between about 15 and 24% of all pregnancies.
All of us, we have been suffering in silence.
Doesn't matter how many children you've had or if it's your first, you know, once you do that test and you hear that you're pregnant or that you're having a baby, you automatically say to yourself that you're a parent.
Didn't know it could happen. Didn't know miscarriage was a thing, and I didn't know it was as common as it is. I just thought you just do the business, get the child, done. But it's a lot harder than that, eh?
Wow. Yeah. Thanks, Amy. Yeah. That I'm keen to watch that. That is that's so necessary. Such a necessary discussion.
Part of what we do is ensure that we have like the biggest cultures here in New Zealand. So you've got your Pacific people and Māori cultures that are very big. And then you have Asian culture and Middle Eastern culture. So we had an Iranian couple, which you see in the trailer. We had a Samoan and white couple. We had a Tongan couple. We had a Japanese couple. So they all have different experiences around the shame. And so we just wanted to show how people deal with it in different cultures and how it gets seen in different cultures, and sort of just turn it upside down in way that people actually see it differently and actually do talk about it, rather than it being just shrouded in shame.
And now this won some awards. Was it a straight up doc or was it a series?
Well, so because I'm an editor, even though I produced and directed it, I also was, part of I edited the other one as well that's coming up. But so it won quite a few awards as like best web series. But because I'm an editor, sorry, to answer your question, so I made web series first, and then I repackaged it as a full documentary, but I added some content that I had to get out because of duration for the web series. So I've added it so I could link it better as one full documentary. And I did that in my own time because, I just want to do that. So it's a full documentary, and it's also on YouTube, and it's a series if you can't stomach the whole thing, because it's quite heavy for people and it can be quite triggering. But yeah, it's won best web series. We actually did win a best editing award for it, so that's cool. Finalists in lots of categories. But it all those things are wonderful, and I'm very proud of it. But what means more to me is the response from people.
Right.
The people that have gone through it, the family members of people that have gone through it, that they have a better understanding of how they can support someone, because that's part of the segment. Right. Awards are wonderful, but I just want the feedback from people that it touches.
Right, the impact. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, agreed. And so necessary. And it's so I've known quite a few people who have had this same occurrence, have had miscarriages. And it's just the process of grieving is obviously unique to everyone, but the thing that's universal is the necessary on the necessity of grieving,
Yes.
of actually processing the feelings on both for both the men and women. So that's fantastic. And
But
huge
also
kudos for that. And
ag-
people can find this on YouTube, by the way.
yeah, and acknowledging that it's grief,
Right.
and acknowledging that grief is different for everyone. So if someone's angry, let them be angry, because that's part of the grieving process. It's
Right.
all of these things.
Especially in men. Men, a lot of times, they display their grief as anger.
Yep.
And so, not exclusive, certainly, but that does happen quite a bit. Just as a review, if anyone's looking to find this up on YouTube, it's called Misconceptions, First Trimester Miscarriages. Take a look for that, because it is a powerful one. And then
The easiest thing to do is to go to the misconceptions.co.nz website, because that's where both the series live and documentaries that I've done lately.
right.
The other one is on anxiety disorders.
Misconceptions.co.
.nz.
Right, here we
Yeah.
go. Let's put that up there for the folks. There you
Awesome.
go.
Thank you.
I think I've spelled that right.
Looks like I'm not wearing my
I'm
reading glasses, but I think so.
pretty close at least. As someone who's dyslexic, it's a toss up, but I think I had it right here to look at.
No, it looks good. Thank you.
Great. And then let's look at also, do you want to set up for us the trailer for Unraveling Anxiety, which, I don't want to get political by any stretch of the imagination right now, but I'm just saying, my fellow countrymen and women here and the country people here in the United States, it might be a good time to learn how to unravel some anxiety, is all I'm saying. Yeah.
Yes. I think that was, I think COVID kind of spurred that on, but also we have anxiety in our family. So my husband has anxiety, and which turns out actually was undiagnosed ADHD, but that's part of the whole thing.
Okay.
And so he has anxiety, and my sisters and my father have anxiety in different forms. And being perimenopausal, I had some anxiety for a little while, a couple of panic attacks in the last few years, which are completely gone now with all the lovely hormone treatment that's available. But anyway, anxiety was one of those other topics that people don't really talk about, and they're just like, oh no, you're just nervous. It's like, no, we're not talking nervousness or anxiousness, we're talking actual anxiety. And also really looking at OCD as, people are like, oh yeah, I'm so OCD with my house. Like, that's not what OCD is. Just because you're clean and tidy, that's not OCD. You are not compulsively cleaning. And it's not just cleaning. You've got moral OCD, you've got responsibility OCD, you've got religious OCD. So many, we couldn't touch on all these things, but it's really sort of, as with the previous one, just changing that conversation and just hopefully getting people to understand it, but also just helping those who don't have it understand what's going on with people. So yeah, as you can tell, I just really like making documentaries or web series that can help other people.
Yeah, that's why I like you. Well, listen, Charlotte and I actually originally met over Twitter before Space Karen bought and ruined it. Years and years and years ago, we connected, probably because I was very, very bitter over the ending of FCP 7, Final Cut 7, and hated Final Cut X. And so I bet it was in and around that time where you saw my angry editor posts and we had connected. So we've been connected for a while now, of course, over on Blue Sky.
It's either that or cats. I don't know.
Yeah, it could have been cats. Yeah, right, because of R.I.P. Catzilla. Yes, for sure. Yeah, probably a little bit of both. but also, just I'm a naturally sarcastic person. I'm gonna gravitate to being like, I want to know you. But also there we go. Look
Yeah.
at that.
There you go.
Come on. Such a good cup.
It works.
And then, also we both have that in us of like, we want to tell stories that are going to help people. And if it can help people, especially in areas where uh, people aren't even talking about it, like I want to edit content that helps that discussion get out there. So let's take a look super quickly
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
the
Anxiety. Yeah.
Unraveling Anxiety trailer.
All the noise that builds up in here.
It's just like a ball in my chest.
Anger, sadness, confusion. Everything is crumbling down.
I know I should feel an overwhelming amount of love, but I feel sick.
My heart doesn't race, I just feel like I always have a weight on top of me.
Vomiting and diarrhea and shaking and all of that. And a terror in the head for no reason.
You're not having a heart attack, not going crazy. There is something happening and this is what it is.
This is anxiety.
Love that. Love that. Yeah. And it was only very recently that I realized I had anxiety my whole life. I mean, it's so super obvious, but very recently I saw a stand-up comedian talking about his anxiety, like legitimate anxiety, not just like, oh, I'm a nervous person, but like legitimate anxiety. And he was describing what happens to him when the plane lands and he has to get his bags. The comedian's name is Zoltan. I forget his last name. His mother is Hungarian, and but he's from the United States, and he's talking about getting his bags and looking at and figuring everything out. And the anxiety, his therapist was like, "That's anxiety," and he was like, "That's anxiety," and I was like, "I do that." Like I do, like his process, as he's describing his process, I was just like, I do that. And then as a kid, but for the entire, before the entire first grade, I would throw up my breakfast, brush my teeth, and then go to school, like for the whole year. And it took me until I was in my 30s, saying to someone, "Oh yeah, I don't like breakfast food." And they're like, "Why not?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I just don't like it." And then something shook loose, and I remembered throwing up breakfast every day for a year. And I was like, "Oh, maybe I should try breakfast food again." Now, of course, I enjoy it. So
people forget that, or people don't realize it has actual physiological effects. So it manifests in the body quite a lot, and so that's why people think that they're having a heart attack, and they go to A&E or your emergency departments, and there's nothing wrong. So that's happened to my husband a few times before he realized it was anxiety. It's just like,
that's for my brother is watching. Thanks, Fred. He's still not making it up.
Yep.
For a real occurrence.
So it's a really horrible thing to have, and as you could tell, we went through various generational people here and also different cultures, again, just to show how similar it is over all the cultures. And the older gentleman, he's a well-known musician here, and he was taking pills for, I think, 30 years before figuring out that he shouldn't be taking these pills for 30 years. But he managed to switch his brain off for that feeling of anxiety, and just one day so he had agoraphobia, and so he felt safe in Auckland, but he loved being on the stage, but he got quite violently ill every time unless he was in Auckland. So agoraphobia is not just staying in a house; it's actually based on location.
Huh.
So yeah, it was fascinating. I learned a lot making that documentary. I really learned a lot, and I try to be a better person for people that have anxiety.
Right.
And
so that is also up on the YouTubes, folks.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you can,
and on the Misconceptions website. So I post my stuff on the Misconceptions website.
Okay.
Because it's supposed to be like a series of, but it's just about me trying to get getting the funding to make these series. So they will all be like, if I get a new project, I will put it on that website.
Okay, great. Yeah, go to misconceptions.co.nz, as they say.
NZ
in the Southern Hemisphere. NZ. Yeah, so fascinating work, and also Unraveling Anxiety received a lot of accolades as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So well done there, and thank you for bringing that to the forefront. I want to talk to you a bit about the Sugarworks. So take us through the process of starting your own post house, because I love this, and also, like, how'd you get the name the Sugarworks? I neglected to ask you that yesterday when we were chatting, and I'm like, oh, I'm saving it for the big show.
Saving it for the big show. Well, so the Sugarworks, it's actually so we are in Birkenhead in Auckland, which is on the North Shore. Yep.
Andrew,
yep. So yep,
giving some truth.
And there is a Chelsea sugar factory, which is the main sugar factory of New Zealand, is right here in Birkenhead. It's just over there. It's got this little factory. It's pink. It's a pink building. You can see it from everywhere. And we figured, oh, well, it's kind of like Factory Records. Like our logo is a little bit like Factory Records, but we called it Sugarworks just in honor of the Chelsea Sugar Factory that's in Birkenhead, because we are in Birkenhead.
Nice.
Which is coincidentally also a location in Liverpool, Northern England. Yeah. So lots of places here are named after English places.
There you go.
Anyway, so Sugarworks, the idea for a post house came when we were talking at I work on a TV show, and there were a few other people in the same building working on other programs, and there's an engineer who became my business partner, Andrew, who just commented, and there's a few people there just talking about getting something together as a post house, and the other three kind of sort of faded. But I kept talking to Andy about it and said, listen, we really should do this. And because the other, where we were, it was nearing the end of its lifespan due to COVID, and, all these ground rents are getting higher and stuff like that. So the overheads were too much. And we thought, oh, it would be a good idea to have something on the other side of the bridge. So when you're in Auckland, or in New Zealand even, you'll know that the other side of the bridge where we are in Auckland, the North Shore, it's very small. So you need a passport to get to this side of Auckland. So that's what people always say. So it's like massive psychological barrier to get over the bridge, because, it's so far away. It's flipping 6 minutes drive to BB. But because of the bridge, which is, it is a bit of a bottleneck, but it's not so bad. Anyway, so Andrew and I both live on this side of Auckland. And so we figured we'd have a look around here. But for me, I'm getting older, Andy's getting older, so we just wanted to set up something where we could help younger people come through, be a bit of a mentor, but also get programs through. And we already had some people interested, so it was a bit of a calculated risk to set it up, because we knew that we were going to have a client or two, which we did, and myself, I was the client as well. So we knew that we could survive the first year at least, and we're now 2 years, which is not bad. So as you well know, being an editor being a female editor especially, you need to have almost a PhD in order to be taken seriously in terms of technical knowledge. And so I had applied for post supervisor jobs or head of post jobs, for the last few years, and I just wasn't getting anywhere. And I always felt like, is it because I don't have a penis, or is it really because I don't have the knowledge?
Right.
And so I figured, well, may as well start something myself. But I couldn't have done it myself, just by myself. I would never have been able to do that. So extremely fortunate that my business partner Andy is with me, and he's like this amazing whiz with all the tech stuff, and just absolutely brilliant, and just funny person as well. So it works really well. Like, I do some of the admin stuff, which I hate, but it's a payoff. But I do the editing if we get any editing, and both of us get clients in, depending on who. So it's good to have a male-female sort of dynamic, because some people still don't want to talk to a woman in technical depth.
Right.
And so that's very handy to have Andy. And some women don't feel comfortable talking to men. So, that's where I can come in and help, So it's a really lovely balance.
Look at that. Getting some props from Andy right here.
Oh, that's very lovely.
Very nice.
So I do like the technical side of stuff. And, because I've always worked in production facilities, post-production facilities, where there is no tech support, or they're too busy, you have to sort it out yourself.
Right.
And that's my natural way of being anyways, trying to find out why it's not working, and being on the forums, checking it out. But yeah, without Andy, I wouldn't be able to run this place. So yeah, it was really born out of sort of, we're getting older. Can we leave something for someone? But we're very realistic. If it doesn't work for the next few years, we tried it.
Right. Yeah. Better to try it instead of sitting around being like, I should have done that.
Yeah.
So, it just, absolutely. I'm 100%. Yeah,
it's
I'm
going
100%.
well. We have returning clients this year again, and we've got new projects coming in, and working on a project right now, and it's just.
And you guys are doing like the New Zealand Music Awards and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. So
the Rollins,
the productions that come here, they bring their own editor.
Oh, okay.
And so we've got, your dry hire. We've got 4 edit suites based, and we've got an ingest space that's where I'm sitting now, and we've got a Nexus server, so it's all hooked up. We've got a little voiceover booth, Pro Tools, the lot. But yeah, generally productions bring their own editor. If they don't have an editor, we have a whole list of freelancers that we can, sort of just go through and go, okay, that person would probably fit this program quite well. Or sometimes if I have the time, then I will, because I like offlining. I'm not, like, I can do coloring, but it's not something that it's not my favorite thing.
Same. Yeah.
And to be responsible for all the little technical things, and the delivery and stuff like that, you kind of go, I know that I'm doing it right, but I don't really want to see what's going on.
Right.
When it goes to air.
Right.
Even though I do that every week, but not on big scale things. So yeah, I like the offline. I like the storytelling. So I try and just sneak my way into those sorts of projects more so than coloring. So we get other people in to do the coloring.
Same. Now, are you all? I mean, look, but nobody wants me to do their color for broadcast. It's one thing to do it for corporate, but I don't want to be the reason that comes back from QC, from the network, where they bounce it back to you and they're like, "This, we can't air this," and you're like, I thought it was all in, and then I'm like, I'd rather.
For TV, I don't have a problem with it. I will happily do that. But we get documentaries and films that need to go to the cinema.
Yeah.
That's where I draw the line. I'm like, no, I can make you the DCP.
Right.
And that will be all fine. And I can color it, but I'm not really keen. So have someone else color, and I can do the DCP for you. No problem. But, but for TV, no, I do that all the time, and I'm not worried, because that's.
Do you just put like a broadcast on the top layer, clamp it down on the very top layer, or you're actually? Are you going to Resolve? Are you going to Resolve now, or are you still onlining in Avid?
For TV, because it's so high turnover with the stuff that I do, it's that will be Avid Symphony.
Oh, good.
And so you got your scopes and everything else anyway. So, but if you have to, if there's graphics there that slightly out, you can use that on your top level. Just put a
Clamp it down.
color clamp, and then you just make sure that you're in the right. Just change the parameters. You can't just fling it on and leave it, because that's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's still going to go under or over. So you just need to adjust a few parameters. But for if we have the time and do it in Resolve, then I'd much rather have someone else do it, unless it's like super low budget and they're okay with me doing it for them, because I can.
Right.
I just don't enjoy it as much as storytelling.
Right. Yeah, I feel you there. Let's see. The joys of scatterback lighting and projectors for yeah, indeed. Seriously. I've got a documentary I'm finishing up right now that I've got to think about that. And luckily it's somebody else is doing the color in Resolve, so I don't have to worry about that. And a little some more props from Andy right there.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
There you go. So now, are you an all Avid shop, or you do have some Premiere workstations or workstations that also have Premiere loaded on them, or are you just mostly Avid at this point?
We do have Premiere on the ingest machine, and we are more than happy to switch. If a production comes in and says, listen, we only use Premiere, we will switch, not a problem. But our preference is still for Avid. It talks a little bit better to Resolve, talks a little bit better to Pro Tools. But I'm not against Premiere. I'm not against any of them. As I mentioned yesterday, I've even used CapCut.
Right.
Once,
yeah, we were talking about that. Yeah, for folks out there, by the way, who are watching this, who are editors, CapCut desktop is free and it's fantastic. I'm about to do, coming up in the next couple of months, I'm about to do a bunch of videos on CapCut for desktop. I was completely impressed. Not so impressed with Descript, honestly. If you're not an editor, you can make Descript work for you, but for me, there's not enough control over that in Descript. But yeah, CapCut is kind of amazing. And yeah, me too. I'm not against any of them except for FCPX. And then again, I'm not really against FCPX. I just have never been asked to use it.
A friend of mine just is like total Apple nuts, and he loves it, and I'm like, hey, go for it,
Whatever tells the story.
You have all these different religions. It's all fine by me. Just don't push me towards one single thing.
Right. Agreed. 100%. So can you talk about anything that you're working on right now? Any projects that are in the hopper at this point in time?
Currently, I'm editing a documentary called Heal the Hauraki. So the Hauraki Gulf is a stretch of water that's like, again, if you look at the map of Auckland, there's like this body of water, and that's the Hauraki Gulf. And it's just been...
the only map I have. I should have gotten a closer up one of actually just New Zealand, but
yeah, that's okay.
That's good enough.
But it's completely been stripped. Like the ecosystems are, well, that's something else.
Oh, that's something. I'm sorry. My bad.
Yeah, that's a different thing. But Heal the Hauraki is it's a documentary, and there's these two lovely ladies who are trying to. One of them has been working on this sort of environmental stuff quite a lot, TV show. She was a presenter, and now she's producing and directing this documentary. So that's what I'm working on now in here. And then the link that you just put up, that's a show that I've been doing on and off since 2005. But for the last 8 years, I am their editor. And that is a Pacific Island TV program, which is a weekly show. And we have like profiles on people, amazing events that they're doing, amazing, even around the region, Samoa, Fiji, Tonga, all those sorts of things. So it's just stories from the Pacific told by Pacific people, which is just an honor to be. It's such a privilege to work on it, especially because I'm not Pacific. The whole team is. I'm just not. So, so to be trusted with these stories is I don't take that word for granted at all. So, but that we don't do that here. I sometimes remote in from here if I can't. if I can't face the traffic. But generally, that they have their own edit suites, which is really nice. It's nice to be around a team.
Right on.
So we've got several projects coming up here this year that we're looking forward to. We've got, hopefully we get the grassroots rugby back.
Wow, Andrew, is that true? I did not know that. I did not know that. I wonder what they cut. Now I want to know what they cut all their variety of movies on. I wonder if they were using like a flatbed and actually editing film.
Maybe.
For most of it. Yeah, really interesting. Interesting. Okay, that's a nice little factoid from Andy right there. Thank you very much.
And a big call from Cashew.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we were talking about color correction, and Cashew loves color correction. It's really she can't get enough of onlining. Really, I send all my onlining to her. FCP then Premiere. Right. That makes sense. That's a pretty logical progression.
Yeah, they're quite closely aligned in how they operate. So that would that makes sense.
That makes sense. Well, old FCP 7. So
yes, yeah, absolutely. No, we're not talking FCP 10.
Just to be absolutely clear about it. Well, and I also want to quickly touch on, because Charlotte, you're so multi-talented, that Charlotte and her husband have written a children's story. A children's book. I have my copy over there. I meant to grab it to hold up, and I forgot, and now if I move I'm gonna knock over Cashew, so now I can't. But so just talk briefly about The Little Mouse's Tale, which, by the way, not for nothing, you can get on thealchemist.com books, but
Amazon.
Also Amazon, or probably wherever you purchase your physical media, or download from Amazon. Is it Kindle available?
Yeah, it's Kindle, and there's a book read video on YouTube which features our daughter at the time, who was 3, and she plays the little mouse. It's super cute.
Her daughter, who, by the way, did a fantastic stop motion animation, which I forgot to talk to you about earlier, loved it over the pandemic. She put together this, so following in her creative folks' footsteps. There's The Little Mouse's Tale, and then there's the follow-up book, which I have scanning out here on top. Forgive me. The Little Mouse and the Wizard. So. Yes. Now, and your husband's a graphics guru, yeah?
So he's a motion graphics and animation guy. So he's multi-talented. Like, he can do everything. He's extremely creative and talented. And the Little Mouse's Tale was a story that his grandma told him as he went to sleep every night. And he wanted to do something for our daughter, and started drawing the pictures for the book, and he translated or he sort of remembered what the text was and wrote it in English. And then I had the absolutely most stupid idea to put it in rhyme, which was just a complete mind screw. But I managed, and because my father writes a lot of, like, he's written books, but scientific books and papers. He was sort of more the editor, but also helped with the phrasing and the stanza and the melody, everything, around that. So it's a real family effort, and we managed to get the funds to publish it as a hardcover book through Kickstarter.
Oh wow! Right on.
We did a Kickstarter campaign to get it published. So, and then The Little Mouse and the Wizard is based on the play by a famous Iranian playwright, and I forgot his name. And so I helped with the text a bit, with the rhyming and stuff like that. But that's more of an ID book. But both my father and I helped a little bit, but not as much as in the previous one. And this one is for our nephew. So
this one right here.
Yep, that's for our nephew. And then we have another little baby niece. So ID's got to make one more. That's the goal.
He's got another in him. He's got another in him.
Oh, yep. He's already got the story. So he just needs to you know, yeah, as I said, he's super creative. And I think when you have a brain like his, it just, you know, it needs to go in little bursts.
Right.
So it'll come, you know, each book has taken a little while, but once it's out, you know, people love it. And again, it's not about the book sales, it's about what we get to hear back from the children.
Right.
And numerous parents have told us, oh, I cannot stop reading that book for my child. They keep asking every night to be read in bed. And
I'm gonna, if my brother is still watching, I'm buying this for Madeline, my brother's granddaughter. I'm buying it for Madeline. Don't buy this for Matt. Or you can buy buy the second one. I'll buy the first one. Just letting you know, I already have plans for this. It won't be autographed like mine is. It's a fantastic book. I absolutely adore it. It's fantastic. And as is everything you do, all your works, I'm a big fan of, and of you, of course. And
thank you.
And that's it. We're at an hour, so
yes.
we should wrap this up because I don't like them to go too over long. Look, yep. Madeline will love it. Little shout out to Madeline right there. My great niece, his granddaughter, and I want to thank you so much for coming along and hopping on the YouTube live with me, because this has been great, and it's so great to actually see you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for persisting and pushing me, because I'm not a big fan of this sort of stuff.
Yeah, this is, to be fair, I did badger in the DMs on Blue Sky several times to be like, why don't you just think about it? Maybe just think about doing this. So I really appreciate it. I want you to know I appreciate it. Andy, lovely to have met you as well. I met him before. And Cashew, thanks you both also. And thank you, Amy. Thank you, Amy. This was great. Yes. I agree 100%. We're going to wrap this up super quick. I want to just really quickly remind people, March 1st and 2nd, if you want to learn Avid, join me there. There's the URL. There's the coupon code. I'm telling you, you want to learn Avid, double your income opportunities, double your job possibilities. I will run, if you can't make it on March 1st and 2nd, I'm going to run this again in June. I'll run the same boot camp again, hopefully in June. And if you're somebody who is already an Avid editor and you're looking to learn more about Premiere, I'm going to run a Premiere boot camp that's going to go the other way. So it'll be Premiere for Avid editors. Also, super quick, making usually I will dismiss the interview before I do the bit of business again, but I'll make Charlotte suffer through this a little bit. Go grab the free Avid guide. If you're already working on Avid, or even if you're not, go ahead and grab your free Avid guide, because this is going to get you all the settings that you're going to need to be successful on Avid. Nobody talks about the settings. Cashew is really all about the settings. She can't get enough of it. And lastly, you got any questions, feel free to reach out. info@nleacademy.com. I'm there. I want to help you be successful in whatever you're doing. Thank you, Charlotte, so much. This has been so great. And I want to thank everybody for watching. And we will talk soon. Thank you all. It's hard to end. My friend John Weber does this on his channel, and which is great. Retro Rangers HQ and Weber Internet Thingy. Go look those up on YouTube. But he also has problems with the stopping. And now once I started doing this, I'm like, oh yeah, it's difficult. So Cashew, are you ready? Are you ready to go? Thanks, Charlotte. Thanks.